So the last thing we're going to talk about in this section is how to solve a formula for one of the variables. So a lot of times our formulas have more than one variable, and sometimes we want to rearrange things to get a specific variable by itself. This can be helpful if we're going to be evaluating for a lot of different numbers, so that we don't have to keep solving over and over again. So solving a formula for a variable means rewriting the formula so that that variable is isolated on one side of the equation. So isolated means it's by itself. Okay. It doesn't mean that we're going to get a numerical value, like we're not going to get an answer like x equals 5 here. So we're just rearranging the formula. To solve, what you do is pretend like that variable is the only variable and use your regular solving techniques. So move everything else to the other side and get that variable by itself. So just like regular solving, if you have parentheses, do parentheses first. If you have fractions and you want to clear your fractions out, do that next. Then you start adding and subtracting, and then you're going to divide at the end if you need to. So same steps, and just kind of pretending like everything else is just a number. So here we're going to solve the formula. This is the perimeter formula for a rectangle. So it's twice the length, that's an L, plus twice the width. And we want to solve this for L. So that means I want to get this L by itself. I'm just going to rewrite the problem to make it a little bit easier to see. Okay. So I'm going to just highlight that L just to show what I want to get isolated by itself. So I don't have any parentheses here. I don't see any fractions. I don't see any like terms, right? They're all different variables. I can't really combine anything together. But I do need to get the L by itself. So when we've done all those simplifying steps, the next thing is to rearrange. And it's to get everything else to the other side. So we're going to do our adding and subtracting first like we normally would. And we're going to bring this 2W to the other side. So I want it away from the L. So if it's a plus here, it's going to become a minus. Now you just want to be careful. These are not like terms, so I'm actually not going to combine them. I'm just going to write it next to each other. And now I have this. So now this side is almost by itself, but I have this 2. So think about it. How do we get rid of a multiply by 2? We divide by 2. So I'm going to do that here. You just want to divide the whole side though. So I have for my answer, L is equal to P minus 2W over 2. Now you could also write it like this. So when you have a large fraction like this, you can split it. You just have to make sure each part of the numerator gets the denominator too, like this. And then you can simplify. So I cannot simplify the first group here, but I could simplify the second group. So this is another acceptable way that you could write this. When you're solving for formulas, just be careful. Capital and lowercase letters are considered different variables. So when you're in my math lab, if you put a capital L, but a lowercase l was given in the problem, it will mark you wrong. So just be careful with how the problem is written. If they're using capital letters, you want to use capital letters. If they're using lowercase letters, you want to use lowercase letters. So you want to be consistent there. All right, let's do one more. The total price of an article purchased on a monthly deferred payment plan is described by the following formula. T equals D plus PM. In this formula, T is the total price, D is the down payment, P is the monthly payment, and M is the number of months. And we're going to solve for P. So this is a pretty common occurrence, right? Where if you have a big ticket item, like an expensive item, a lot of times we'll pay for some of it up front, and then we'll make monthly payments to pay the rest of it off. So that's what's going on here. It really doesn't matter the background though. What we want to do is just solve, and we want to get this P by itself. So I have no like terms. I have totally different variables here. So the first thing you need to do is do any sort of adding or subtracting. So I'm going to get this plus D out of here. I got to move this to the other side. So if it's a positive D, it's going to become a minus D. And remember, you're just going to write these next to each other because we can't actually combine them. Okay. Now all my plus and minuses are on the other side, and I'm ready to get rid of that M. So I want the P by itself. I'm going to divide both sides by M. And I have my answer, P equals T minus D over M. Now this answer is perfectly fine. If you want to split it, you can. Just remember that both parts in the numerator would get that denominator. I can't simplify anything here. Nothing cancels out. So this would be another way that you could go ahead and write that same answer. And again, when you're entering answers or writing answers, just watch your notation. In this problem, T and D are uppercase, P and M are lowercase. So if you're entering your answer in MyMathLab, you need to make sure you're using the right cases or else it will get marked wrong. We consider, something like capital T and lowercase t to be different variables, and we can use them in the same formula. So you just want to be a little careful there.